Hi everyone, today we're going to continue our discussion of organic molecules. In the first video we discussed carbohydrates and lipids. Today we're going to cover the second two organic molecules, which are the proteins, which are some of probably your favorite things to eat because you have steak, lobster, dairy products, chicken fingers, and then we'll tell you about the nucleic acids. So proteins are probably the most structurally and functionally diverse group. So they do many different things in your body. Really, they're involved in almost everything in your body. They're your enzymes. So they're going to actually help break down some food and build up some things. So pepsin digests protein in your stomach. DNA polymerase actually replicates your DNA, which we'll discuss about halfway through the year, probably in about January. They're structural, keratin and collagen found in your hair and your muscles. So they provide joints, those kind of things. They also act as carriers and transporting. Hemoglobin carries oxygen. Aquaporins are the channels that allow water out of your cells and into your cells. They're involved in communication. Insulin controls your blood sugar, so they're signals. They're receptors to receive the signals from other cells. They're part of your defenses, antibodies. They act in movement, which is probably the one that most people think about when they think about proteins. They think of muscles. So you have actin and myosin found in your muscles to help move your muscles and cause locomotion. And one lesser known function is that they also have some storage. So some bean seed proteins store some energy, but that's not a very common one. Mostly it's these other ones. So you notice there's a lot of different functions out there. However, on the test, it would be very difficult for me to answer or ask one of those kind of questions. It's easier to ask me what is proteins not involved in. Well, proteins usually are not used for energy until they're the only source left. So which of the following is a function of a protein? The enzymes, structure, defense, energy source. The answer would be energy source. So only time you use proteins for energy is when you're on that desert island and you're starving and there's nothing left. So then your body's going to start breaking down your muscle to use as energy. But until that point, they are not to be used as energy. So what's the structure of a protein? So you notice the first three ingredients are very common ingredients: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. CHO, which we saw in both carbohydrates and lipids. However, the new addition is now proteins have nitrogen in it, N, and sometimes sulfur. So the acronym for that is CHONS. So carbohydrates and lipids have CHO, proteins have CHONS: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sometimes sulfur. What is the monomer unit of a protein? The building blocks of all proteins are amino acids. There's actually 20 different amino acids out there. You don't need to remember all 20 different names. You don't even need to remember there's 20, but just for information, there's 20 different amino acids out there. So these amino acids form the polymer unit, which we call a polypeptide. These polypeptides are actually proteins. So sometimes a protein has multiple polypeptides. Like in this case, you can see there's 4 different chains of polypeptides that form this hemoglobin protein. Sometimes it could just be one polypeptide that forms a protein. But polypeptide, this peptide means protein, poly means many, so they're equivalent to each other. So polypeptide and protein are, for your purposes, the same thing. So proteins, as I said, could be one or more of these chains folded together. Most proteins are quite large and complex, and one of the key concepts is that proteins have a complex 3D shape, which I'll discuss further in a minute. But this 3D shape is very important to protein function. The function of proteins is very important it depends on its structure, really. So if the structure is improper or incorrect, the protein will actually not work. So all proteins have a 3D structure, so they're twisted, they're folded, they're coiled, and if one little part is in the wrong place, it's very possible that the protein might not work at all. And you can see an example of that is here's pepsin, which is an enzyme that digests protein in your stomach. Notice that there's a pocket here. Well, this pocket perfectly fits a protein that it's going to digest. So if this pocket is the wrong shape, because one of these amino acids is in the wrong spot, it cannot fit perfectly and the enzyme won't work and you won't be able to digest protein. So that steak, when you eat it, you can't break it down and it'll just come out the other end and you don't actually get any nutrients from it, which is obviously bad. The final group of macromolecule that you need to know are the nucleic acids. So nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides. So nucleotides are the monomer unit of nucleic acids. There's 3 parts of a nucleotide. You have a phosphate group, you have a sugar, and you have a nitrogenous or nitrogen base. So you can see this entire thing down here is the nucleotide. So here's your phosphate, here's your sugar, and here's your nitrogen base. So this is a nucleotide. You attach them to each other, make a big long chain, and that's what forms the nucleic acid. There are 2 types of nucleic acids that you need to know. The first one is DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid. That's the big long name for it. So the function of DNA is to store the genetic code for its own replication and for the sequence of amino acids in proteins. So its job is storing genetic code. So the function of DNA is to store the code to make the proteins that your body needs to survive. The other type of nucleic acid out there is RNA, or ribonucleic acid. So DNA's job is to store information, RNA's job is to translate that code. So DNA is storing, RNA is actually moving the code and translating it into amino acid sequence. So those are the 4 macromolecules that you need to know. You need to know the function structure of carbohydrates, of lipids, of proteins, and of nucleic acids. And as usual, please make sure to have your notes in class and have any questions or any confusions about this video. See you later.